Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on the Happy Farm D podcast. My name is Chris Bakley, and I'm your host. If you've ever been interested in working in a pharma position, then today's episode is especially important for you. Today, we're going to be speaking with a pharmacist who has a current role in the pharma setting. We'll also be discussing in terms of where he began in his career, how he moved forward in his career, and how he got to where he is today. He is also a pharmacy coach. So we will also be speaking with him regarding the importance of a coach, what they exactly can offer to you. And especially this will be helpful if you're not really sure if a pharmacist coach is something you want or exactly need. We will definitely be going into how important a coach can be, a very important asset in terms of figuring out what it is you want to do in your career and how they can help you get there faster. Thank you so much for joining us again today. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Sandeep Chakrabarty to the podcast.
Hello out there, and thank you for joining me on the Happy Farm D podcast. This is Chris Bakley, and I'm your host. Before we get into today's episode, I just wanted to make a special announcement to everyone out there. We are offering free access to a webinar for everyone out there that is interested. It is our Career Masterclass. This will primarily help focus on how to escape burnout, get your job offers regularly, and to finally take control of your career. Please feel free to sign up on our link to secure and register for a spot, and it is free. The link is thehappyfarmd.com/begin. Again, that is thehappyfarmd.com/begin. Feel free to check it out and sign up again for your free spot for this class. Thank you so much, guys, and let's go to the show.
So I'm here with Sandeep Chakrabarty. Just wanted to start out, if you could get the ball rolling, just kind of talk about where you started, what you went to school, where you went to school, just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I've lived in New Jersey pretty much my whole life, and so I went to school at Rutgers University. It's a state university in New Jersey, and I did a 6-year PharmD program, and at that time it was 6 years altogether. And I graduated pharmacy school in 2007. So 12 years ago, and then time certainly flies.
Yes.
So yeah. So that's my pharmacy background. I live in Jersey City today. Like I said, Jersey my whole life, pretty much. I grew up in Central Jersey, went to school at Rutgers, and lived in North Jersey, Hoboken, Jersey City. Got married and live with my wife and 3-year-old in Jersey City today.
Cool. Actually, I didn't realize Rutgers was a 6-year, was a 06. Because I went to Albany College of Pharmacy. And that's like one of the few 06s that I was aware of. So
Yeah, and I don't know if it still is. I think it might be a 2+6 now. I'm not sure.
yeah,
Is it?
I mean, my school, I think I heard they were planning. I mean, I think it's still 6 years. I graduated in 15, and it was still
Yeah.
6 years. But I think they added on it was 6 rotations, I think, the last year, and now I think they added another one. So
Okay.
I know they're kind of extending the rotations, but I'm not sure about
Right.
the year. I'm not sure if they're
Yeah, I misspoke. I meant it might be a 2+4 or 2+5 now.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I'm sorry, not 2+6.
No, you're good. Yeah, no, I think some of them are
uh,
going to that 7-year.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, did they bring back the BS option, or
We
is
had
it
that.
every?
We had that.
You did?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, because it went away. It was just strictly PharmDs, and then
Oh,
just heard recently.
we had BS, and we had a couple like dual programs, so you can get like an MBA or like a law degree at the same time if you were really ambitious. But because they were associated with the Albany Law School as well at my school, so that's like the only things they offered, I believe, and I'm sure they've added more since I left. But so what? Let's go over what you've done career-wise since you graduated to now.
Yeah, absolutely. So after I graduated, I was really didn't know what I wanted to do. Tried for a fellowship, but that was kind of a off the cuff kind of thing. Didn't know if I wanted to do that. And then I was going to go into law school. I took the LSATs. I thought I was going to go into law school. I thought I was going to be in retail just to start and then transition into law school. So I started my career as a floater pharmacist at Target. So in Central Jersey, I started as a floater. That floater job didn't last long. I became a staff pharmacist at a store in Union, New Jersey. And I was still doing all the LSAT prep work, and then I even did the LSATs, and this was all going along. And then and I thought I'd work in retail for a year and then go into pharmacy school. So staff pharmacist, and we worked at this really, really slow store, and I had all kinds of time. Like coming out of college, working at the store was like a dream come true, because you'd hang out at night and then show up, and there's like no customers. I think we did like 300 scripts. So it was real easy, and I was like, this is awesome. But at some point I got bored of that.
Yeah.
And what I did, and I think one of the first career type things that I did was I asked my supervisor at the time, is there anything I could do to help? And not my pharmacy manager, certainly, and we had a great relationship with my pharmacy manager and my techs, but asking my they called them pharmacy business partners at that time, or maybe it was called a pharmacy operations leader, is there anything I can do to help? And that led me to a scheduler job. So I have all this time in the world, so I scheduled for the district.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so it's kind of like the first thing that was a bigger scope. This was like 1 year out of college, or not even 1 year. This was like half a year, 3-4 months out of college. So that was the first thing I took on outside of my core roles. I think did that well, talked to all the pharmacists in the district, made a bunch of connections, and did something out of my scope of work. And then new pharmacy was opening, and they asked me to be the pharmacy manager at a new Target that was opening in Vauxhall, New Jersey. So year out, I became the pharmacy manager at a brand new store. Hired my own team, picked out my staff pharmacist, and was able to successfully grow this business really, really quickly with some specific strategies and whatnot. So from that, I within 2 years, basically the person I was working with, the pharmacy operations leader, was training me to take his role. And then he was unfortunately let go. And his boss, one of my first mentors, said, hey, would you be interested in becoming a pharmacy business partner, which is basically the same thing as a pharmacy district manager.
Okay.
So I was 2 years out of college, and I was going up to interview for a pharmacy district manager.
That's quick.
role.
Yeah.
Very, very, yeah. And so at that time, I'm like, my law school plans were put on the wayside because, put on the back burner, because I'm like, hey, this is a door that opened up. I got to walk through. I interviewed, I successfully interviewed, and I became a pharmacy business partner with Target. I think a couple of things in that was a couple of learnings, I think, career-wise, right? Asking your boss how you can help, I think, is one of the big things. Doing your job really, really well is another big thing. So before you can even ask to help or do more, you have to do your job really, really well.
Yeah.
And then the third thing in that situation was luck and timing. That has to align with doing your job well as asking others for help. It's got to be the right time.
Yeah.
They needed someone at that time.
What drove you to ask those kind of questions? Was it just how you thought, or did someone kind of recommend it to you?
I don't remember if there was the questions about how can I help.
Yeah, like just to kind of like the I guess desire to kind of go forward, or to do something different, to not just keep doing the same old.
At some point, doing 300 prescriptions gets kind of tiring. Like, it's cool for a while.
Yeah.
But, I think you have to be self-motivated, self-driven. I wanted to do more. Like, I wasn't, it was not fulfilling to do 300 prescriptions a week. It was fun, certainly, but it wasn't fulfilling. And I was like, what more can I do? But when you ask that question, though, because not everyone is asking that question. And when you ask that question coupled with doing a good job and the right timing, I think doors really open up.
Oh, that's great advice.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
So that happened. So I was a pharmacy business partner with Target. I did that for 5 years and all through the tri-state area: New Jersey, Philadelphia,
Oh wow.
New
Okay.
York, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan.
How many stores were
Um,
you or was it, I guess, districts were you
yeah.
managing?
So I had about 20 to 24, but I did a couple different assignments. So my first assignment was in central New Jersey and northwest Philadelphia. So it was about 20 or so stores. And then I took on a higher level assignment in New York City,
Oh
which
wow.
had Brooklyn, Queens, and then it had North Jersey at one point, and then the Hudson Valley. So it was two different assignments. Working towards a bigger assignment. Yeah, so I did that for 5 years. And then my first career change happened 8 years out of school. No, 5 years, I'm sorry. About 7 years out of school, my first career, or not career change, I guess, company change, right? Because I
Okay.
worked with
Yeah.
Target for 7 or 8 years. But Target at that time, I told you I took on second role in New York City. The leadership above me changed. And, I think a lot of growth and development comes with your boss and the
Yeah.
people above you. And so at that time was an opportunity for me to also explore other roles. And so I had a conversation with a Rite Aid, actually via LinkedIn, actually. First time
Oh wow.
LinkedIn,
Okay.
actually. So it's a little plug for LinkedIn, because I know that is in the coaching world or in the job career world, I don't think we fully appreciate LinkedIn. I was a Friday night, and my soon to be boss at Rite Aid basically on a Friday night sends me a message, very, very nondescript, and says, "Hey, are you willing to have a conversation?" Right.
Really? Wow.
And
Okay.
it was just a simple message like that. And I'm like, I think I was out on a Friday night. And I'm like, that's a very subtle, ambiguous message. So, I'm like, who is this? So I looked this person up, and he was basically doing his own recruiting, and he was the regional vice president at Rite Aid. And he just said, "Hey, would you like to have a conversation? Call me on this number." So I let that thing go till Monday, and I gave him a call on Monday. We had coffee at Starbucks. Next thing I know, I'm interviewing for a pharmacy district manager job at Rite Aid. Was able to successfully do that. A very different type of role than the Target role, believe it or not. Target was at Target, pharmacy is only 5% of the business, so it's not thought of as a
Gotcha. Yeah.
big. The scope of the role is not as great as at Rite Aid, where pharmacy is 70% of the business.
Yep. Yep. Makes
So,
sense.
and then managing P&Ls, 20 to 30 direct reports. So that was cool. So I did that at Rite Aid for 3 years, and I was a pharmacy district manager in the Hudson Valley.
Very cool.
Yep. So that takes me to my latest career change. Rite Aid was bought by Walgreens. And once again, that same principle of transition, new leadership. I was going to go work for Walgreens I had 24 stores, 14 of them were going to be Walgreens. So if you had more than 50% of your stores be with Walgreens, you would go work for Walgreens. So I was going to do a role at Walgreens. But a time of transition, and all senior management was going to stay at Rite Aid.
Hmm.
All the relationships I built were going to stay at Rite Aid, and so I had to build and start all anew. And I think once again, just like that first move, I think career advice is when you have that transition, that's a good time to take control of your own career. I always say to my coachees, don't let the company tell you what's happening next, right? You should have to take control of your career. You dictate what you're going to do, and you should have the choice, right? So at that time, I was looking at some different options, and actually my wife floated me. She's been in pharma her whole life. She did a fellowship, and she floated me this role. She floated me this role through her pharmacy channels or through her industry channels. It's called a retail strategy for a big pharmaceutical company. And so interviewed, I had no idea really. I had to kind of tailor my
I mean,
resume because
that's a huge shift. Yeah.
yeah, and now I know why. Getting into pharma is I know why now that they say you need pharma experience to get into pharma, but it's not impossible. And my leadership as a pharmacy district manager certainly helps, but I think it's how you tailor your resume, things I say to my coaches or coachees, how you tailor your resume, how you look at a job description and you kind of take it as your own. And I nailed the interview. And later I found out I beat someone who's been in trade for 4 years, an external candidate and from the pharmaceutical industry, who was already a director. I beat that person out just
Wow.
because
Okay.
of my interview. And so I've been doing this job at retail strategy and operations for the last 2 years in industry.
So what does that
And
job entail compared to what
yeah,
you were doing
so
before?
yeah, totally different. What I do today is I work with brand marketing teams. So each brand, and I could get into a whole another podcast on how industry works, because I think until you're in industry, I don't think we appreciate how industry works as pharmacists. I sure as heck had no idea
Mhm.
what the different functions were. But if I can explain it, each brand name drug has a team that does marketing for that drug. What marketing essentially is, everything from TV commercials to promoting a drug to doctors. So the doctors will write more of the drug.
Gotcha.
It's and what I do is I work with the brand marketing teams to communicate to pharmacists or patients in the pharmacy. So if there's one of our drugs and we want to educate a pharmacist, or educate's not the right word because there's a whole nother medical team that's educating. But if we want to promote to pharmacists or we want to promote to patients in the pharmacy about our drug or about copay offers, savings offers, et cetera, I work with the brand marketing teams to develop these programs.
Okay.
And one last piece around that is there's vendors in the space that do these things, and then you can work directly with retailers, like the big chains or smaller chains or so forth, to create these programs to help market to pharmacists and or patients in the pharmacy. It's
Wow. Okay.
pretty unique, pretty cool, and most of it is behind the scenes, and you would never know this was going on unless you knew this was going on.
Wow. Okay. So would you to go kind of like reflect on what you did before to now in terms of work-life balance and stress level, is it completely different, or would you say it's better, about the
Yeah.
same?
It's easy to say, and it would be accurate if I said it's amazing. Work-life balance is better. It's awesome, and it is all of those things. Not to say though it wasn't good at my prior job as a pharmacy district manager. I think work-life balance is what you make of it. I truly believe that. This sounds like my PDM voice talking, but I really do think that in any job, you have to make work-life balance happen. And you got to know how to do your job effectively and leave it where it needs to be, and stop or not or whatever. You got to figure out how to have work-life balance be great for you. I think I figured it out as a PDM because, tradition, if you ask a lot of PDMs, they will say it's a super stressful job.
Yeah.
But I think it's what you make of it. I think it's different. I don't have a phone on me 24/7. I don't have
Mhm. Constant
pharmacists
phone
calling me
calls.
out because of back pain. Pharmacists calling out for all kinds of reasons. That on a weekend I don't have a scheduler, so I'm trying to make calls at 6:30 a.m. to
Or you have
get
to go
people
open the store
covered.
yourself.
Yeah, unfortunately, and that's what I mean. I've never had to do that in my career.
Really? Wow. Okay.
And that is that work-life balance piece, that don't sacrifice, don't compromise your work-life. Have a backup plan and a backup to a backup plan. I've never once opened a pharmacy because someone was calling out. I always figured it out, right?
Gotcha.
So, but I have plenty of times on a Saturday morning started making phone calls at 7:30 and begged people to go into work, right?
Hmm.
That's no fun. I didn't like doing it. I didn't like bothering pharmacists to do it. It was horrible to call somebody on a Saturday morning and ask them to go in. Found ways around that. I would ask for volunteers before the weekend so that I had a list ready
That's
to
a good
go,
idea.
right?
Okay.
But yeah, so this job is none of that.
Yeah.
I don't have a phone on me 24/7. I have a good work-life balance. There's busy periods where you are, doing stuff at night. There's also periods of, you get breaks and you get weekends and you get.
Yeah.
I don't
Totally
want to.
different. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to jade our fellow retail pharmacists. It's the truth, but retail's got benefits too, right? And you don't work every other weekend. You're off. You don't work 7 days or 5 days a week. You have random days off during the week, and
Yeah.
there's, I think, every role has
Pros
pros
and
and
cons.
cons, and it's you got to make the best of it. And if you can't make the best of it, then you got to find something you can do that you'd be happy
Yeah,
doing.
exactly. So, how did you get into coaching on top of what you're doing now?
Yeah, so great question. So when I moved over from PDM to this role, I don't have a team under me. I went from having a team for 8 years under me to being an individual contributor, they call it. I missed developing people. I missed I missed hiring or finding talent out of colleges. I've missed, our high potential pharmacists building a career with them, talking to them about what they want to do, helping them get to their potential, reach their potential, et cetera, et cetera. I missed all that, and there was an itch that I needed to scratch. And I started thinking, hey, there's an opportunity to do this and help people and help pharmacists who are unhappy, or even help pharmacists who are happy reach the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, someone shared with me Alex's LinkedIn, and I shot him a note the same way my boss shot me a note, a very nondescript, hey, if you want to talk, something like that, right? And he's like, do I know you? Because I think he thought I wanted to be a client, right? And then he saw his LinkedIn profile, and I think he realized that it wasn't a traditional LinkedIn profile of someone, if there is such a thing. I don't think he thought that I was looking for coaching per se, but
Mm-hmm.
so we started talking, and I said, here's what I'm thinking. And it sounded, he had this awesome idea, and he had it all built out. And I said, hey, I would love to work with you. And we connected, we hit it off. And so I've been working with him as one of his coaches for the last 8 months.
Okay.
And for me, it's personally fulfilling, whenever we can help somebody either switch their career or find an indispensable career for themselves. It's super rewarding. And for me, it's rewarding because it scratches that itch that I've had since I left being a PDM.
No, I totally gotcha. And I guess so what is in terms of people who might be, I was one of them, who might be hesitant to get into coaching and to not only just to be a coach, but to actually reach out for help for pharmacists, especially now with everything changing so much and it's harder and harder to find a job. What's your best piece of advice for someone who might be ambivalent to actually go to coaching?
I think the first thing is really taking the time to understand what it is. It's not a recruiter. It's not someone who's going to tell you what to do. I think there's a lot of recruiters out there. There's a lot of resume writers out there. There's different pieces of what we do out there. But a coach is so much more than that. One of my bosses used to say, Michael Jordan was the best player, is the greatest player in the history of basketball, and he's always had a coach, right? He's
Okay.
always had a coach. He's always had a coach that he's respected, admired. Everybody who has done great things has had somebody who's been a coach, and you don't as a pharmacist. You don't as many things. If you're not on a team or a sports team or it's just a individual contributor in the line of work you do. You don't always have a coach or mentor or whatever it is you want to call it.
Yeah.
So I would say, try to understand what a coach does first, and then realize that, this person can do so much for you more than a recruiter, more than a resume writer. Certainly we do that too, but I think I look at us as a accountability partner. I look at us as someone who asks you tough questions. I look at us as someone who, if you have a vision, we kind of leverage or we become a partner to you for you to make steps towards that vision. A lot of people have, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. But to actually go and do, sometimes you need a little kick,
Yeah.
or a little push, a little shove, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I'd say. Go out and do it. Find a coach. I have a coach. Alex has a coach. It's pretty rewarding.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's more like, especially after going through it, I feel like it's absolutely necessary. Like or else, like, especially if you're feeling stuck and you just don't know what to do. Like, it's always helpful just to have someone that can actually back up your ideas or give you some ideas that you can just kind of work with.
Yeah.
So
And one last thing, what's cool is we're all pharmacists. A lot of times some of these professional folks that we all work with, resume writers, recruiters, etc., they're not pharmacists. I think
yeah,
we get each other, and I think that's very important.
yeah.
So those
I
are
couldn't agree
those are
more with
things
you.
I'd say.
Yeah.
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 So
Especially like for me, it was I honestly had no idea what I wanted to do. I'm like, I could try this, I could try that. And Alex honestly was like, so what do you want to do? Like, do you even know what you want to do? And I didn't, I had no idea. But I was kind of also just stuck in that whole, I don't know what I want to do, but I want to get out of and I'm like,
I hear
whatever
that so
opportunity.
much.
Yeah. And I'm like, whatever opportunity is out there, I'll take it. Like, just get me out of what I'm currently doing. And, it was helpful to actually try to focus on me and like, what do I actually want to do that'll bring me joy? And not just get to the next job to get out of a job, which I thought was
True,
really
true.
helpful. Yeah.
Totally, absolutely. I think a lot of we hear that so often that
Yeah.
I just don't want to do this anymore. I want to do, well, what do you want to do? Because we can't get towards what you want to do if we don't know what it is that you want to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then we go down the road of, okay, what are your skill sets? What do you like to do outside of work? If I asked your friend, significant other, parents, they said, if they told me, hey, this is, if I asked them what you like to do or what you're good at, what would they tell me?
Hmm.
Why not? Why shouldn't that be the same thing that you do when you go to work?
Totally
So
agree. Yeah.
those are that's the thought process.
Yeah. And I feel like for me what was really hard was I was applying online, for a while, trying to find stuff and getting no hits at all. Or pretty much
Yeah.
just the same job that I was in, getting maybe some hits from that. But that was very frustrating too. And kind of hearing that, that's not, everyone, like a lot of people experience that, and kind of being able to find an alternative way, actually going out, meeting people, talking to people face to face. It definitely helps to have someone kind of hold you accountable instead of you trying to do it yourself too. So I really admire what you guys do. So I guess I guess we just got a couple minutes here. Just to kind of close up for pharmacists who not only coming out of college, I guess, new grads, but also people who are maybe been working for 15 years and just want to completely start over or do something different. What's like your biggest piece of advice for someone who is really just clueless in terms of what to do next or where to start coming out of college?
Besides work with a coach,
Yeah.
just anyone, you have to, that question we just talked about, like, what is it that you want to do? You have to have a vision first, right? And really identify what it is you want to do. You have to, we often ask, hey, in 5 years, what would your dream job be? And that word dream job is overused. I don't mean a dream job, but I could mean a dream job, but I mean a job that would make you genuinely happy. Find out what those things are. What is it? And you don't have to have a specific job in mind, but think about what are those things that make you genuine. So I would say that's step one. And then from there, look at your current resume and see what boxes you can already check off and what boxes you need to add, what things you need to add on this resume to help you get to that vision. And those are some of the things that we talk about is building your resume towards the role that you want. So I would say those are the two biggest things: is understand for yourself, take stock in yourself as to what makes you happy. Write it down, say it out loud, tell a friend, see if a friend agrees, see if your parents, see if your significant other agrees, and then once you have that vision or those pieces, then work towards it.
Awesome. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And I wanted to like just repeat what you said earlier in terms of asking, like, even in your new career or whatever, wherever you are, what more can I do to help? I think that was like really good advice. Like, I think that makes a huge difference in terms of trying to move forward and get out of where you are, just to show that you're willing to do more than the other person or than anyone else. Like, I think that's really good advice as well.
Yeah, and I think that's and especially that's within your current role, right? Because sometimes you're stuck in a rut in your current role, and if you got to ask. You got to ask. And, and actually that brings me to one more thing. You got to let people know that you're, you don't want to say you're not happy in your current role, and you just got to spin it positively and then this goes along with what can I do to help. You got to let people know that you want to do more, right? And you're interested in doing more, because, you take for granted that people know that you want to do more. Like people don't know. They're not, unless you have a great boss and work for a great company with development in mind, a lot of times you get left in the weeds because no one knows. And so you might be doing a great job, but you never told anybody that you want to do more or do something different. So shout it out, let people know, and then work towards it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sandeep. Well, I just wanted to thank everyone again for joining me today on the podcast. I hope you took a lot of information from what Sandeep and I discussed regarding just your career-wise in pharmacy and also a career coach for that matter. I really thought it was really helpful information when he said, don't let the company tell you what's happening next and take control of your career. I think that's very important advice and especially helpful in terms of a lot of us are just kind of going with the flow when I think it's very important and helpful to try to take control of your aspect of your role as a pharmacist and to not continue to feel stuck with where you are and to really push through while everyone is just kind of going with the norm. To really push through and kind of believe in yourself and do what you think is right. I also think it was very helpful to hear everyone has a coach that has been great. If you think back to even Michael Jordan, he's always had a coach. Even other coaches have coaches. So it's not something to look down upon or to think that, to be embarrassed about. Having a coach is honestly, I feel like in my own perspective, was one of the best choices I have ever made in my career. And I would recommend it to everyone and do recommend it to everyone. So if you do want to find out more information, please feel free to join us on the Happy PharmD podcast website at thehappypharmd.com/class. We have a lot of helpful information on there. Even if you just wanted to talk to us about coaching or just about looking into one of our courses, we'd be more than happy to discuss that with you and help you out to get further along in your career. I hope this was very helpful, guys. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.